Artificers! I mean, Runecrafter Wizards. This is a subclass for the giant options Unearthed Arcana for wizards. The basic flavor is that you draw runes that help you out. Disclaimer, by the way, if you're new to the game, I don't recommend you read or use UA because this is playtest material, so chances are very high it's not good for the system. I will also assume you know the system itself very well throughout this video. I'll be looking at this through the lens of optimization. Welcome to Pack Tactics. Runes of Understanding. You always have Comprehend Languages prepared. You can cast it without expending a spell slot. And the spell doesn't count against the number of spells you have prepared. For the duration, you understand the literal meaning of any spoken language that you can hear. You can also understand any writing language that you see. But you must be touching the surface on which the words are written. It takes about 1 minute to read 1 page of text. This spell doesn't decode secret messages in text or glyphs, such as an arcane sigil that isn't part of a written language. It's a ribbon feature, but you could just keep casting it all day, so you are basically always able to understand spoken languages, which is good. You need to find a way to talk back though. Maybe pick up Adept Linguist background feature would be a good idea. Or if you have an Eloquence Bard in your party, they can talk for you. Next, this one is cool. Runic Empowerments. When you choose this subclass, you learn to amplify your magic through the application of various runes. Your knowledge of these runes is stored in your spellbook, though you determine the rune's cosmetic appearance. For example, your runes could be engraved into the cover of your spellbook, glowing whenever you cast a spell, or you could work the shape and meaning of the rune directly into a spell's somatic and verbal components. When you cast a spell using a spell slot, you can invoke one of the following runes. Life Rune. When you invoke this rune, you choose one creature you can see within 30 feet of you, or Self. The chosen creature gains temporary hit points equal to 5 times the level of the spell slot. Expended. War Rune. When you invoke this rune, choose one creature you can see within 30 feet of you. Until the end of your next turn, attack rolls that target the chosen creature gains a bonus equal to half the level of the spell slot expended, rounded up by a minimum of +1. When you invoke this rune, your speed increased by a number of feet equal to 5 times your spell slot expended, and your movement doesn't provoke opportunity attacks. These benefits last until the start of your next turn. You can invoke no more than 1 rune per spell. You can use this feature a number of times equal to your proficiency bonus, and you regain all expended uses when you finish a long rest. So spoiler alert, the resource you use for this is basically your main resource. I'll call it rune charges. You use it for most of your features. That's why I don't really like how little you can use this. It's proficiency bonus amount of times per long rest. It's like twice when you get this feature and 4 times at level 9. Pretty sad. But the actual feature, it's kind of cool. Life Rune is beaten by other temporary hit point sources like Inspiring Leader, Twilight Cleric, Artillerist Artificer, but maybe you don't have those in your party. Wind Rune might be useful if you're stuck in melee and want to run away without using your action to disengage, but I hope you pick up Phantom Steed or a normal horse eventually, which kinda removes the use case for this rune. Now for the one I think is really cool. War Rune. It's basically blessed for a number of creatures for a round. Right now it's only a bonus of +1 to attack rolls, but once we get to level 5, it's +2 with 3rd level spells. Let's look how it improves. Kobold, stop! Conjure animals! For ease, I will look at wolves making use out of pack tactics, but there are of course better options to pick here, and those lead to a bigger increase in damage. The differences in damage when considering only wolves to attack an enemy ranges between 10 and nothing. You know, when enemy's AC is super low. At 15 AC, this is the math. This is a difference of 5 damage. It's actually not that big of a deal when you only look at the wolves, but it helps out your marshals too. If you add a subclassless fighter with crossbow expert and sharpshooter, you can add 5 more damage. If they use action surge, that is 8 damage. So let's say this rune does about 13 damage at level 5, maybe. It's not terrible, but it assumes you have conjure animals, and you can only do it 3 times. If you use velociraptors, its value is higher. Also, you might have more allies attacking that enemy. One last thing, and I want you to report this. It says 1 rune per spell, not spell slots, which means if you use a rune with shield spell, for example, you can never use a rune with shield ever again. That's most likely a mistake. Level 6, Sigils of Warding. You can call a rune of protection to guard yourself against threats. When you fail a strength, dexterity, and constitution saving throw, you can use your reaction to expend 1 use of your runic empowerment and succeed on the saving throw instead. We have to use our rune charges for this too. That's super lame. To be fair, it's pretty strong though. The one thing you should keep in mind is that you can't use absorb elements or shield at the same time because those also use your reaction. So while this might be decent on dexterity saves to take less damage, absorb elements is likely just a better option. We can use this on maintaining concentration because those require constitution saving throws. Keeping your spells up is important. That's why getting proficiency in constitution saving throw or warcaster is really good. I wouldn't say those feats are worse on a rune crafter, but this can be extra contingency. I imagine most of your rune charges are used for this from now on. It really sucks that you only have 3 rune charges at this point. Level 10, Rune Maven. Your understanding of runecraft has grown immensely. Whenever you use your arcane recovery feature, you also regain a number of expended uses of runic empowerment. The number of uses you regain can be no more than half your intelligence modifier, rounded up, minimum of 1. At this point, you should have like +4 or 5 intelligence modifier, so that means an additional 2 or 3 rune charges, which at this point brings you to 6 or 7 total, which is not a lot. There are items that allow you to use arcane recovery more than once per day, like the arcane grimoire, which would nearly double your number of rune charges. That's good synergy. That seems more like what the base amount should be. Anyways, Capstone, Engraved Enmity. As a bonus action, you can target 1 creature you can see within 60 feet of yourself. The creature must succeed on the wisdom saving throw against your spell save DC, or be magically marked by an enmity rune. The enmity rune appears as a faintly glowing mote of energy that hovers over the marked creature, which suffer the following effects. Runecrafter's Bane, the creature has disadvantage on saving throws made against spells you cast. Unveiled Enemy, the radiance of the glowing rune makes the creature visible if it's invisible, and the creature can't become invisible while the rune persists. Woeful Curse, when you mark the creature, and as a bonus action on subsequent turns, for the duration, you can invoke the enmity rune to curse the creature until the start of your next turn. The next time one of your allies hits the creature with an attack roll, the target also takes 1d8 force damage, and the curse ends. The enmity rune lasts for 1 minute or until you lose your concentration, as if you were concentrating on a spell. Once you have marked a creature in this way, you can't do so again until you finish a long rest, unless you expend a spell slot of 3rd level or higher to use this feature again. Did you guys catch that? I bet you did. Let's rewind the tape for a second. Unveiled Enemy, the radiance of the glowing rune makes the creature visible if it's invisible. Then we go further back. Target 1 creature you can see within 60 feet of yourself. That's definitely a mistake. I guess you can technically see an invisible creature at level 14 with like see invisibility or true seeing, but I don't think that's intended here. I guess you can stop people from going invisible if they are visible, but how often does that really happen? You at least get all 3 effects when you use this feature, but none of these effects are really outstanding. Runecrafter's Bane seems like it should be used to set up a good spell, but most good spells require concentration, which means you cannot use this feature because it ends. Unveiled Enemy, like I said before, has a super small niche. but like, come on. Woeful Curse is basically a non-guarantee hex on one attack that requires your bonus action, each on every turn. It sucks. After a minute, this ends, and you can only use it once per long rest, or if you spend a 3rd level spell slots to do it again. I don't understand why they limited this feature so much, because the effects are really not worth the cost. I'll just keep casting Hypnotic Pattern like a normal person. Conclusion, I like the idea of this subclass, I was excited to read it, but it's underwhelming. Across all levels, it has issues with the number of times you can use your features. That's not fun. And the capstone feature really shouldn't be called a capstone. Hopefully you guys can give some good feedback when the survey becomes available. Please point out those errors I showed. I hope I earned your subscription. There will be a video tomorrow too. Thank you for watching. Bye bye!